word.
It's an existing word.
I don't feel qualified. Qualified, that's the word, to be even remotely giving you guys feedback, but it was great. And again, one of the things we were just saying was, having been in this sort of industry of sustainability, whatever you want to call it, for a while now, and you can get quite nervous about the way that we're going as a society, and as a global society, and slightly jaded and worried there aren't enough new ideas. What came through today really strongly was from all of you, every single one of you, there is a freshness to your thinking and to the way that you present and to the ideas you had, which mean that there is a good chance that we're going to start to see some real and effective innovation coming through in business and in non-public sector and NGO organisations. So that was very exciting to see that. I'm not going to pick out any in particular, other than to say any person in particular. I'd like to go project by project. I thought satellite had the potential to be the most sort of impactful business in the UK, because it was the biggest, most difficult idea. From a business point of view, it's certainly the most appealing as an investment for an investor, because it sort of has a real sense that you can scale up, you can build a property portfolio, you can have impact across many different sectors. But it was the hardest to get going, and would take a lot of capital, as you reflected in the numbers. Ecodemia I love, because I really agree that there's a massive need to get that out there, to get some harder science out there amongst more people. I think there's some challenges around introducing academia onto social media, and risks involved in that, which might make it difficult to convince heads of department to let their people sort of run wild, as it were. But certainly there's a lot of people talking about things like founding political parties called the Scientific Democrats and that kind of thing, but the point is there, we need some facts. And I will definitely buy food from the greengrocer. I don't live in North East London, which is disappointing. But the food was delicious, by the way, very, very nice. And I think you could have a lot of fun doing the business, but you would have to work really, really hard to make it pay for itself. Anyway, thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks for clap on the
yes, thanks again. I'm going to let Jonathan summarise. He's been around the sector much longer than me, and I'm sure he's got a lot more experience to offer. As with Tom, I feel, I feel very much really as a contemporary of yours, and so when I guess when I was looking at your ideas, I was just thinking, what would I say to a mate? I think that, of course, we all know that if you were actually to do this, there would be a big learning journey from here. I think that the question has really brought out something that you've taken something to a strong starting point, and therefore have an opportunity to grow, and therefore I think that there's a lot to be praised in all of them. I've got this secret kind of question of how many will start, but that's another thing. But I would echo Tom's comments around innovation and sort of from the other point of view, really. I speak to people every day who think that there's still a tribal air to greenness, and you still have to say the boring old line of it's not all hemp tops and blah blah blah, and it's just so boring, and that we've moved beyond that. And what I see is that non-greenies want in. There is the demand, and the demand needs to change the system, actually. And what I constantly encounter with my client base, as I say, who are non-greenies, who just want a solution to be a good person, is just there aren't the right solutions for me. And so it's just really inspiring to think that there is this test bed for creating solutions. I think that starting a business is an interesting process. I didn't ever intend to. It was kind of an accident. I just couldn't quite help myself. I just couldn't stop thinking about it, and I had a nice comfy job in CR and all of these kind of things, and it just didn't go away. So if any of you has that feeling, then you know what you need to do. So if you do start that journey, please feel free to keep in touch, and I wish you every success with it.
Thank you.
I remember the first couple of years of forum intake, and they seemed like a new generation. They were interested in policy, though, and politics and lifestyle. You guys were interested in business and making things happen. And you don't talk about, you don't talk about sustainability as this big abstract, inherently political, structural change way, as if it will defeat you and defeat us all. I know you think that probably. I know I do. But there's a real sense of can-do, and in particular, I think this notion about selling and marketing and communicating and using new media, that's really, I know I'm a bit of an old git, and my kids are always making fun of me, you know, dads and technology and all that, but I think that was really striking for me today. And the sense of kind of practical application, working things out, doing small things really, really well, is at the end of the day what business is about. And I know I talked about teams a bit today when I was asking you questions, although I'm not very good at asking questions. I kept making statements, I realised. But I think having a great team, and if you can make a great team with your mates, that's a really powerful thing. You all fall out, of course, and you sue your shareholders and your partners, and it all gets a bit. But I really enjoyed it today. I thought it was very exciting for sustainability, actually, in a general sense. I think specifically on the individual businesses, I think the first one, we actually have a development that has one of those at its heart in the neighbourhood centre. I think it's a really important ingredient of sustainable communities, and I think it is a scalable business. I think it would take a long time to settle down, albeit that I thought your kind of growth idea was actually much too modest. I think it would take ages to get going, and then it would go like that. That presupposes that you're really good at it, and you never know until you try. So it's a great idea. I agree with Tom. I think there's loads of competition. There's all sorts of other ways in which it could be done. But I think if you could create a good brand around it, a really nice environment, I could completely see it working. In fact, I felt that about all of the enterprise. I thought the second one is actually the easiest to do, partly because there's already a person. I don't mean to discriminate against the others in the team. I don't know, you may be really enthusiastic about it as well, but when someone's that kind of passionate and has clearly sort of thought it through a lot, you know, some aspect of it's going to work. It might be completely different to what you start out with, and it will mutate and evolve, and you know, all of those necessary good things in any business. But it's a great idea. I'd be very surprised if it weren't at least as applicable to a range of small businesses, not just academics, actually, although I realise from a kind of mission point of view that you all feel passionate about harder evidence being communicated better. I think we've all had a bad experience in the last couple of years in that regard, so you know, it's a valuable thing. Although I slightly despair at all these scientists communicating more in a way when you meet them. It's almost like it's probably better to stay in the dark corner and do some good work. And the third one I thought was really fresh, actually, no pun intended. Although it is one of those businesses that puns occur the whole time, you know, like the growing business and the pickle thing and all of that. It's such a crowded space, food and seasonal and local and TV chefs and foodie Britain, but so to come up with something that's crisp and original in the way that you did, I thought was terrific. And as I said at the time, I thought you were a very good team. I thought all of you had really clear strengths in it and spoke well to your brief. Quite difficult to scale up, I would imagine. And we were talking about whether you could copyright it, and you couldn't really. You just have to become a great brand. But it's got a bit of innocent drinks about it. It's got a bit of almost a kind of Ocado in a sense. I'm sure you looked at comparator brands, and yeah, I think potentially it's got legs. Again, it would certainly mutate quite quickly. If you're serious enough about it, I'm not assuming incidentally that any of you are going on to do this, because you were pretty convincing if you were, but if you took that forward, again, it would be a very different business in a couple of years to the thing that you start out at. And does that matter? Well, it doesn't if you keep your ideals, actually, because you'll find together really interesting ways of expressing yourself in that market, I suspect. So overall, I mean, it's just, thank you very much. It's been a really, as Tom said, it's been a great privilege meeting you all, and dare say I'll be seeing you on street corners and, and in neighbourhood centres all over Britain with your dodgy ties.
Well, I think a huge round of applause to the Dragons. Right, well, suspense for a couple of moments longer, so thanks so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
What do you want me to say?
No, seriously.
It sort of feels a bit...
That's great. So, the good news is that you've all passed the forum part of the presentation, and you did brilliantly, so well done on that. And I'll be giving you, or we'll be giving you a bit of kind of written feedback on your presentations, but they're very, very impressive, so well done. So there's kind of a couple more elements, the peer feedback, and Carol's going to give out forms that need to be completed on Tuesday, so that's part of this sort of final bit of the project. And one or two of you, I just need to check about the final written plan. I think there are still bits that might be missing, need feeding in, but feedback to you on that. So the most important thing now, the competition. The Dragon's Den competition, business plan competition. So very, very difficult to judge an overall winner. The Dragons were looking at how convincing your pitch was to them in their particular roles. They were looking at the viability of your business model to the extent that they saw today. And then they were also looking at whether you were offering an innovative solution to sustainability problems. So those were kind of the three things. And with all three groups, you pretty much ticked all the boxes for the Dragons. So well done, everyone. That was fantastic. So it was really, really difficult coming up with a winner. But I think the Dragons kind of were looking also at, as a group, would you... did you look like a kind of cohesive group with passion to take something forward? And I think the overall winner that came out there has to be Greengrocer, because you all came across as a very united group with knowledge and passion to take forward. And I think, as John said sort of a fresh approach to a jaded subject. So, so well done, Greengrocer, but you won the business plan prize there. But the rest of you did a fantastic job as well. So. Meals for the rest of the So, Kirsten, many thanks. You can't stay for a drink.
No, I'm sorry, I do need to go.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if it's useful, but I gave my business card to one of your colleagues here, and I'm happy to